All right. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about fantasy stories and heroism and how they affect readers. But first I want to introduce Amanda to you, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her journey as an author and some of the things she's overcome to get there, and a little bit about her book. So we'll let her do that first, and then I'll come back.
Good evening. My dad and I have been doing events like this for about 7 years now. We started in 2004 visiting churches and schools and book signings, and we just did our little talks. Well, he did his talks. I didn't do it at the time. I've only done about 18. And after about 2 years of his talks and visiting schools and having readers tell him what they've changed his books have made on their lives and how inspiring they are, I decided that I thought I would like to do the same thing. I'd like to be an author like he is. And so I started writing my own little stories, not with the intent to get published at that time because I knew I wasn't any good. And I just wanted to get better. And a lot of the talks my dad did during those years were writing workshops. He would teach people how to write better, and I would be sitting in the back in the chair behind everybody else listening intently. And that continued for five years after the first two. And finally, I was good enough after all those lessons to write a story that I considered to be publishable. And I attended writers' conferences, which are gatherings of writers that get together to learn the craft of writing, to meet editors, so that they might be interested in publishing a book. And I attended 4 of those before I met my editor, who is actually the same editor as my dad. He works at the same publishing house. And that's how my book, Precisely Terminated, came to be. It's a dystopian novel. Does anyone know what that means? A utopia is where the world is perfect, and dystopia is the opposite, where the world is terrible. Precisely Terminated is set 800 years in our future, and the world is under one world government. It's a terrible place. Everyone's enslaved with these computer chips. They have this chip implanted in their brain when they're born, and it tells them what they can do and where they can go, and if they don't obey, they're killed. So Monica is my main character. She's 16 years old, and she's the only person in the entire world who doesn't have one of these chips. And so it causes a lot of problems for her. She can't get any food because that's all regulated by this computer. But she's determined to help free the slaves and end this tyranny. And that's what Precisely Terminated is about. It's the first book of the trilogy, and I'm working on the second book right now. My publisher has decided that they want the finished manuscript by October 1st. Or at least not finished, but written and to be edited by October 1st. So that they can work on editing it. And it's not done. The idea for Precisely Terminated came to me in a dream. And I dreamt the entire first chapter, the names of the first 2 characters in the book, the title, and the premise. And so it was very easy to come up with this plot, and that's how it came to be. And are we going to do questions now? Or
Would you tell us about any obstacles you overcame during this process?
I always forget about that part. When I started writing at 15 years old, after 2 years of traveling with my dad, my writing was more horrendous than the average 15-year-olds. Because I have dyslexia, which is a learning disability. It makes it difficult for me to process words and learn how to write or read. I went through first grade 3 times, and I didn't start to learn to read until I was 9 years old. So writing was a great challenge to me, even putting together a cohesive paragraph. But I finally overcame it with the help of my dad's tutoring and the writers' conferences and an online program for Christian teen writers. And I had some mentors online that helped me with that. So most people, if they were to meet someone who has dyslexia or some other learning disability that has to do with writing, they would probably say, don't do it. Do something maybe to do with math or art or science. It doesn't have anything to do with much to do with words, and it'd be a better category for you to go into. But after seeing my dad's work, I decided I did want to write despite my disability, that I would overcome it with God's help, and nothing was going to stop me from inspiring people and changing lives.
Well, let's go see if there are any questions for Amanda before I start speaking. Anybody have questions for me?
Wow, I feel dejected.
Well, you were just so clear. Well, maybe you'll think of something later.
Yeah.
What was it like traveling around so much?
Very fun. We only travel during the school year because that's when schools are open and we can visit them. During the summer, we write, or at the time when we first started, I was still in school, so I did school in the summer and some on the road as well. And it's really fun to see all the different places. So oftentimes we get to our hotel around midnight and then have to get up at 6:30 for a week going to these events and driving for hours. And so it's very tiring and we never see any sights. But I love it. And I hope to keep doing it. Yes.
Your brothers and sisters feel like being on the road like day one?
I don't think they cared. My older siblings were, by the time we started traveling, my older siblings were in college or moved out. So they didn't have anything. My younger sister, I have 2 younger sisters and I'm one of 7. I have 4 older siblings and 2 younger siblings. My 4 older siblings were all in high school. And my second from youngest sister is 17 years old now, and she hates to travel. She doesn't want to go anywhere. She wants to stay home and not talk to anybody and just do her schoolwork. She loves to do school, and that's all she wants to do. And then my youngest sister is 14 now, but at the time we started traveling, she was too young. And now she's very busy with school. Yes, the Christian themes are more subtle than some of my dad's books because my character doesn't have a spiritual guide, someone to show her the right way until almost near the end. Because of her lifestyle, she's the only person in the world in her situation. So she's always moving around trying to avoid detection because if she's found, she'll get killed. And the spiritual themes are love, sacrifice, and never giving up. And there's always hope. She's very sacrificing for people she doesn't know. She never gives up on them, even though they give up on her. And so I hope to have more spiritual themes in the sequels. There will be 2 more because she'll have a spiritual guide available to her after this.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Well, I'm going to tell a little bit about my story first before we get on with this.